Alright, so I want to make top 10 lists for each class, but I want to do two of them. One of them is going to be attacker only, where I only factor in the attack value of said champions, and then the second list will be dual threat characters that are both good on attack and defense. So, let's start off with the Cosmic class, and let's start off with the attacker part of the Cosmic class. Now, the Cosmic class is arguably the best attacking class in the game because some of these champions are just so absurd damage-wise and utility-wise. But a quick disclaimer, all the content in this video is from the content creator beta, or all the gameplay, sorry, and additionally, competitive content takes priority like Battlegrounds and Alliance War, but I also factor in incursions, story content questing, and long-form content, as well as potential future content use. But first the honorable mentions, and this goes to Vox, Gamora, Corvus Glaive, and Ronin. Now Vox is a great champion, but I feel like he is just a bit too new to rank on here, but he has a great kit. He has access to poison immunity as well as some other great immunity sets for a cosmic character. He has access to Degen, which is super rare for a cosmic champion. He also has access to Undermine and Vigilance, which is just very good, and I feel like his kit is just really well designed. So in long form content, I feel like we'll have a ton of use there, and in Battlegrounds he's already doing pretty good, but I still want to be a bit reserved on my judgment for him. But I feel like there is potential for him to be a top 10 cosmic, but for now, we'll have to wait and see how he plays out fully, right? And Gamora is a great champion, but I feel like she's a bit brought down because of her lack of utility. She does have great damage output, especially in Battlegrounds and especially in long form content, but she doesn't do much outside of having good damage output. She counters miss and she has armor break, but besides those two things, she really is lacking in that department. So I feel like that is why she is not top 10, but still a very strong champion. Now, Ronin and Corvus are here for different reasons. Corvus, if he has charges in Alliance War, he is one of the best, if not the best Alliance War attacker in the game, but outside of that, he is just very outdated, so that's why he is just a mention on this list. And Ronin, when he works, is one of the best champions in the game because of how powerful his cheese is, right? But outside of that, he is very mediocre, so that's why these champions are just mentions, because while they have a ton of potential, they just are very niche, right? So yeah, these are the four mentions for the list, but now let's go over number 10, and number 10 is going to be Angela. Now, Angela is just such a strong champion, man. She has access to DOT reduction up to 100% plus, which is so powerful. She has auto block reduction as well, and she also has pretty much nullify immunity, as well as armor break and just a ton of buffs and some pretty decent damage output. And she is great for incursions, very strong with the regen and the good sustainability, and she is good for Battlegrounds occasionally. Like right now she is good for it because she is currently tactic. Same thing with Alliance War sometimes, and just overall questing as well. But why is she top 10? Or why is she number 10 actually? Well, her damage output is just a bit lacking at this point in the game. It's decent, like I said, but it is kind of a problem in the wider, the wider span of things, right? Because for a cosmic character, she really just doesn't hit to that level unless she has a ton of modifiers with her in incursions or something, right? So I feel like Angela is a great champion, but that damage output does need a bit of work. It did get increased with the Thor relic, but besides that, I feel like she is missing a bit in that regard. And she also wants high sig, so the 7-star isn't going to be good for a while. So the 6-star will eventually get power crept by the other 7-star cosmic characters, and that's why she is number 10 for now. But speaking of 7-star cosmic characters, this 7-star cosmic is very strong, and it is Gore, who is number 9 for this list. Gore is very strong, man. He has access to bleed, poison, shock. He also is good at surviving bleed and shock debuff, so it's kind of like an immunity, but not really, because he does take the damage still, but he also regens pretty much all of it back. He has access to a lot of buffs as well. He can bypass healing with despair and the poisons that he has. He has access to a lot of damage output on the SP3, and when he's awakened, he has access to Undermine, which is another great utility piece. So I feel like this character just has a very strong kit, and I feel like the things he does makes him a bit more versatile than like Angela, right? And in long form content, this man really does slap. He has so much damage output, especially on the SP3, but not only that, the DOT afterwards is also pretty dang crazy. So I feel like Gore is a great number 9 option, or number 9 pick, sorry. He is great for Battlegrounds for the most part. He's great for questing as well, and incursion, so that's already 3 good uses for him at least. And if this was a dual threat list, he would be even higher because, you know, he's good on defense, right? But that's not what this list is about. But it's time for number 8. And number 8 is someone who is on the rise very, very, like, rapidly too. And it is Venom. Now, Venom is very powerful in the right hands, but he has, like, one pretty big drawback, and it's the RNG. You can always just get the wrong buffs for the entire fight, and that really can sway a Venom matchup. And that's why he isn't really high on the list, because besides that, he is honestly such a powerhouse, especially with the Venom relic. He has access to a ton of bleed damage with that relic, and the buffs can just be crazy sometimes, right? If you get like 5 precisions, he just goes haywire. Even like 2 or 3 of them is enough to do the job, but with his RNG problem, it does make me feel a bit hesitant to put him at like the 6th or 5th spot. So I feel like he is just sitting good at number 8. He is great for Battlegrounds, he is great for questing and incursions, so I feel like he does have some use in the game, especially in like that competitive Battleground scene. But for now, he is number 8. And number 7 is a champion that really hasn't aged at all, and it is Hyperion. Hyperion is from 2016, and that is just insane to think about when you really realize how powerful he is. And there was a point in time where Hyperion was falling off a bit, but then the Gore relic came out, and that relic really just changed Hyperion because it made him a lot more practical to play and a lot less RNG reliant. So that relic really did save Hyperion, right? But not only that, the addition of 7-star Hyperion is a game changer because he doesn't need max Sig, he just needs Sig 1. So 7-star Hyperion plus the Gore relic is going to be a crazy combo, and he has access to, you know, a lot of Furies, a lot of power gain as well, which is always a good thing. He has access to Armor Break and Incinerate, just some pretty usual 2016 stuff, right? But what really makes him good is that damage output, and that damage output makes him great for Battlegrounds, for questing, incursions sometimes. So he does have use in some pretty good pieces of content, but yeah, number 7 for now, because as time goes on, you want more utility, and Hyperion is kind of lacking there, but he makes up for it for that passive power gain and that very, very strong damage output that can be very fast to access as well. So, number 6. I know Venom is really popular right now, but I feel like there is one champion made to just power creep the symbiotes, and that is Null. Null is such a powerful champion when you think about everything that he does, right? He has access to true accuracy, which counters evade and auto block. He has 60% bleed and poison reduction, as well as 40% degen reduction. He has access to one of the best power rate manipulations in the game because he just obliterates any combat power rate there is. And I feel like that ability is just so powerful, and that alone makes him top 6 worthy. But he also has a passive armor removal, which is crazy good because if a champion is armor break immune, that doesn't matter because Null can still bypass it with the Living Abyss charges. And additionally, he has a ton of armor breaks for damage output, which is always sweet. He has bleed access too, and he also can nullify regens and turn them into degens, which is so crazy as well, man. And not only that, when he's max Sig, his damage output isn't just great for long fights, but he also has very easy short fight damage access too. So this champion really just does have it all. And that's why I feel like he was meant to power creep the symbiotes, because he just has way too much utility, right? And he has great damage output as well, especially for long form content. So he can be used in long form content. He's good for battlegrounds as well, and also just incursions and general questing. So he's pretty much used everywhere. He's not like the best Alliance War attacker out there, but he can be used there as well, but not as good as the other top 5 cosmic characters. So yeah, Null, number 6 for sure. The power creep of the symbiote champions, and for good reason. He is the literal king of the symbiotes, and he proves it in Mcoc as well. So, time for the top 5 champions, and number 5 is someone who made waves so fast, even before he was released, right? Before he was released, he was already hyped to the core, and there was a ton of pressure on this champion, but he delivered because he is Adam Warlock, right? He is the golden boy. This dude is so powerful. He has access to the stasis pod, which is insane, right? It is a 75% damage res. It gives him access to energy protection, which is immunity to shock, incinerate, cold snap, and frostbite, which is 4 immunities right there. He has access to unblockable, true damage, high crit rate, and a ton of furies, and a ton of damage overall. This character is truly amazing. He is just so powerful when it comes to damage output and utility and sustainability too, right? With the stasis pod and the regen and the stun as well and the ton. He just has so much going on for him, it's not even funny. He has so much to work with, and when you master Adam Warlock, he truly is a top 5 cosmic character. So he can be used for Alliance War, for battlegrounds, story content, long form content, incursions, you name it. He is just very good for it, and he will have a use pretty much everywhere for you. He is one of the few champions that is just good everywhere, right? But yeah, Adam Warlock, number 5 for sure, and maybe as people learn him more, he gets even higher on the list. But for now, number 5, and number 4 is going to be Galen. Now this champion is so crazy in the right scenarios, and when you can manipulate his immunities, he is just such a strong champion. In battlegrounds, I feel like that is his best place to be, because he does fight so fast. But what does this champion do exactly? Well, he's immune to pretty much everything there is. Special lock, power drain, power burn, nullify, fate seal, just so much stuff that he is immune to, right? But that's not all. He has access to the harvest, and the harvest is one of the best abilities in the game because it is just straight up direct damage, and this bypasses so much stuff. It bypasses any res in the game. It bypasses so much just like annoyances, right? So many annoying things he just bypasses with the harvest, and that's why he's so strong for battlegrounds. Galen versus Korg, he can take it. Galen versus Thing, he can take it. Galen versus Penny Parker, one of the funniest matchups in the game. Galen versus Vision, that's just one of the biggest jokes in the game. There are just so many matchups that he is insane for in battlegrounds and Alliance War 2, right? But I was worried about Galen because with health pools getting higher, his reach for the harvest does go down a bit, right? But then Ascension happened, and Ascension really did save Galen for a very long time. So I feel like Galen is going to be good for a while. So that's why he is still number 4 on this list, and that's why he's not any higher, right? Because of that worrying factor that maybe in the future he won't be as strong, he won't be as potent with the harvest. But for now, he is a powerhouse, and he is just an amazing champion overall. Now, it is time for the top 3. And I'm calling an audible here, man, because originally I had Cosmic Ghost Rider at number 3, but the more I think about it, for an attack-only list, I feel like Cosmic Ghost Rider is just way too strong. So number 3 now is going to be Hulkling. Hulkling is such a good champion. He has access to a ton of immunities like poison and shock. He has access to some very strong damage output, and he has access to a lot of good power manipulation immunity as well. And there is pretty much no cons for this champion. He works for so many fights, and he just has so much versatility. He is good for battlegrounds, he's great for alliance war, he's great for questing and incursions. There isn't really much that stops him. And yeah, there are really no downsides to Hulkling because he just has everything covered, right? He's just such a strong attacker and he just works for so much. But since this is a attacker only list, I feel like Cosmic Ghost Rider has to be number 2. This champion is one of the most unbelievable attackers in the game. The damage potential is the best in the game, and it's not even a competition. This dude has so much damage output that when you fully deck him out, it is just unreal. It shouldn't be allowed in this game, right? But not only that, even in just a generic scenario like Battlegrounds or general questing, he is still usually the fastest option for those fights. It is just absurd how powerful he is on attack. Of course he's not perfect, he has a pretty strict rotation for the power gain and the vigilance access, but if you play him right, he really just does so much. He does so many fights that you just think he can't do, right? Like Korg with the Purify and all that. He still takes him with ease in like, 30 seconds, 20 seconds sometimes because it's CGR, why not? He just works for so much stuff. He's good for Alliance War. Okay, hold on. Alliance War is the selling point. CGR and Alliance War is one of the most broken things in this game. The power back boost was a mistake, man. When you pair with CGR, he just takes the entire map in like 5 seconds. It is so unreal how strong he is with a power back boost, and like boosting in story content as well. He just clears it the fastest. Just the fastest. He is the fastest for pretty much everything in the game. Besides, like, I don't know, Labyrinth with Black Cat. Like, besides that, he is just the fastest usually. So it is so hard to stop this champion besides just straight up, hey, armor break immune, he can't take the fight that fast, whoop-de-doo, right? That's how you stop him. And besides that way, if you know how to play him well, you can work around the other things that usually stop him. So that's why CGR is number 2 for me. But not only that, man, he has access to Fate Seal, which is just so dumb, right? Because why give the best damage output in the game one of the best buff controls in the game as well? It is so goofy in my opinion. But yeah, he has Fate Seal, he has Power Lock, he has Bleed and Incinerate immunity. He just has so much utility on top of having the best damage output in the game, usually. So yeah, that is why CGR is number 2. For an attack only list, this dude has to be just number 2, right? So yeah, who could be better than the best damage output in the game that has such an insane utility kit as well? Well, it has to be number 1, which is Hercules. This champion was a mistake, right? We can all just accept that now. He just does everything, man. He has the damage output covered. He has high crit rate, which is always good. It's good for bypassing challenger rating. He has access to True Sense, which is pretty good. He has access to stun immunity because why not? He has physical burst damage, which is already like way too much damage for him. He has access to unblockable, well, immortal. And oh yeah, he has immortality. You can kill him, which is very balanced because it pauses as well. That's fun. Who designed this champion? I know who, and they know that they made a mistake. But yeah, Hercules wasn't supposed to be in the game. I feel like they were hoping for Omega Sentinel. If they knew the kit already, they were like, yeah, please don't let this guy be released into the game because he will just break it entirely. And he did just that. He broke the game. They have to plan around Hercules now, which honestly I feel bad for, right? Like, let's say you're a developer and you make a very cool piece of content that is such a unique and innovative thing, and then you see a screenshot of Herc just doing it in like 3 minutes, item list, like, yeah, okay, what's next? Hercules does this, give me something else. It's just so demoralizing, and I feel so bad because Seracides was supposed to counter him, and nope, Herc does it in like a world record time. So It's so annoying. I mean, I think he's fun to play. I will say that. He's fun to play. He's very fun to play, but he's just disgustingly good, man. The immortality, the damage output's also so unbalanced, right? I mean, of course CGR has more damage output, but Hercules, when paired with, like, you know, being immortal, it's just so goofy, man. Like, it really is. I don't know. I just don't know. He's good for Alliance War, obviously. He's like banned every other war, or like every other war season. He's good for incursions. He's the best incursions champion in the game. He's good for battlegrounds, because of course he is. He's good for story content, because it's hard to counter him, so he just works for everything usually. It's just so silly, man. He just works for everything, and it's just something to accept, right? That he is the best champion in the game, and he was a mistake. I feel like if he vanished off of the contest, people would just lose their mind and just quit the game. I feel like a lot of them would, because people would just rely on him now at this point. Like, it's not even, oh, I like using this champion. It's, no, I need this champion to make it far in the game, which, you know, I don't blame them, right? He's in the game for a reason, to be used, and they use him to clear everything because he can do just that. And, you know, you can't really fault someone for doing that, because they're just trying to make it in the game, and some content is really dumb and like really not fun, and that's where Hercules just comes in to save the day. Like, hey, yeah, this incursions boss has the worst nodes ever. Let me just use Hercules, who can counter that because he cannot be killed, right? Like, that's why Hercules, I guess, is meant to be in the game, because, yeah, some of the stuff that Kabam drops and incursions and whatnot is a bit goofy. So, yeah, Hercules, it could be a, like, year-long debate on if he should be in the game or not, but he does have his moments where, like, I'm like, dang, I'm glad I have Hercules, and it's usually an incursion, so that's why he is the king of incursions, right? But yeah, that is my top 10 cosmic list. I think I did decently. I think I got the number 1 correctly, but then again, this is the easiest number 1 to get correctly. But let me know your thoughts on this list, and yeah, that's about it for me.